Hi, everybody. My name is Sam Opsahl, and I work with Indiana Humanities as a program associate. On behalf of Indiana Humanities, I couldn't be more excited to welcome our viewers in for this special bonus content for the Waterways Film Tour. We're very proud of the Waterways films, both for the conversations that they've sparked and the success they are now finding in the larger Indiana region. I'm very excited to be here right now talking with the filmmaker of one of those Waterways films. Johnny, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Sam. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, happy to have you here with me. All right, so diving in, the first question I have for you about Land Values, the film that you and Ben Massey made together, is where did the idea or inspiration for your film come from?
Yeah, well, Ben and I both grew up near the Big Pine Creek. We spent our youth, fishing that creek, stomping up and down it. I did a lot of canoeing and kayaking of the creek growing up. I was really fortunate. My parents really taught me some valuable lessons when I was young, and I grew up on a farm near there, and so I had this unique upbringing of this amazing connection to both agriculture and to the Big Pine Creek waterway. And so we'd already kind of started following around some of the farmers in the area, documenting what they were doing from a conservation standpoint. And one thing led to another, and we came up with this idea that we would start making a documentary film about the Big Pine Creek Watershed Project. We found out about the grant through Indiana Humanities and applied for it, and we were very fortunate to be selected to receive that grant for the Waterways Film Tour, and it's been a wild ride ever since.
I love that. Off to the races then. Um, so then moving into that filmmaking process, what did that whole process look like for you and Ben? What was the filming, editing like? Any unique stories that came out of that experience for you?
Yeah, for us, because we were following around farmers and farm families, we filmed for about 2 years because we wanted to get the full cycle of planting, the growing season, harvest, post-harvest, and what did that look like from, the farmers and landowners who were implementing these conservation practices and the partners that they were working with to help make it happen. And so we had a lot of footage. I think for Ben and I, we filmed everything. We probably had way more footage than what we needed, but the process took quite a while. I mean, it was a long endeavor, but we met a lot of really amazing people, built a lot of really great relationships in our community, and I think probably the most exciting thing was that we were able to kind of be in this world where everybody has a love of this creek where we live, right? They may not all be farmers. They may just be people that like to go fishing or maybe kayaking or canoeing, but the creek brings everybody together. Everybody loves clean water. Nobody wants dirty water. And so it was just really neat to see all these different types of groups interact and come together, for the greater good of our community. And that's to make sure that this area, is a place where people can enjoy it for generations to come.
I love that part of your movie, the kind of almost cross-sectional nature of it when everybody from different walks of life is coming in and out of the film. I think that's maybe my favorite part of several favorite parts of that film, I should say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so then moving on, how do you see the connections between the storytelling that you do in your film about your community, and then crossing that over to understanding our relationships with the environment? You already touched on this a little bit, but I wanted to see if there's anything else you wanted to address there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just been really interesting because, I mean, my day job is I work with landowners and farmers, and I help people implement conservation practices as just part of my daily work life. And I'm really fortunate in that regard. And having this more intimate experience of making this film has really helped me learn a lot behind the scenes on what it really takes for people to implement this real change, and make these true conservation changes. And I think one of the big takeaways was that, any little small step that a farmer or a landowner took in this Big Pine Creek watershed project, and they're still taking those steps today, really collectively made a huge impact downstream on water quality. And one of my big takeaways, at least that I can continue to take back to my community, is that these little strides and steps really do add up and make a big difference in the big picture of it all.
Very cool. All right. Moving into the latter half of the interview, then, have there been kind of thinking about the film and its life cycle after this premiere? Have there been any updates to the story that you documented in the film? Any
Um,
historical actors, current day actors, all that good stuff?
Sure, sure. I'd say probably the most important thing is that the Big Pine Creek Watershed Project got another grant and another round of funding, and which is really exciting. And so, Leslie and her team and these partners, both public and private, they'll be doing this all the way through 2027. So, something that is really exciting is that if landowners or farmers who are just starting to learn about these practices and how they could implement them on their land, there's still great opportunity for them to participate and get involved. And I think the other big benefit is that this project has been ongoing since essentially 2014, and so there's been a lot of lessons learned. A lot of hiccups maybe along the way or roadblocks that got figured out, and there's a lot of ways that people can fast track some of these conservation practices now, and they're a lot more streamlined. And so that's a really exciting thing. I mean, the farmers that are featured in our film, and even the farmers that we talked to that weren't featured in our film, they all had really great harvests this year. A lot of them, set some records for some of their yields, and at the end of the day, they're just excited that they were able to participate in these conservation practices, and they're also implementing those conservation practices in other watersheds that are right adjacent to our own Big Pine. So that's pretty exciting.
That's really exciting. So much success both for the project and then the participants themselves. So very cool. So moving forward, moving away from maybe the participants in the film and looking at the film itself, how has the film been received by audiences? How do you feel about the reception so far?
So far, it's been great. I mean, when we premiered it at the Fowler Theater in Benton County and in my hometown, our local community, we were blown away. I mean, everyone, from local farmers and families, teachers that we had in high school, people came from far and wide to see what we were doing. Our film, is specifically about agriculture, and so our film has also been screened for several area high schools and middle schools. And we've been able to work with the educators at these local schools, and we've developed an online quiz so they bust the kids in, or maybe we take it to their theater at their school. We show the film. The teachers have an opportunity to engage the kids, whether they're interested in science or maybe environmental science or ag in general, and they have a quiz. We can send them all the students' answers, which is neat. Get some insights about how the younger generation perceives this type of work that's happening in their backyard. And then we also have a lot of soil and water conservation districts in different parts of the state of Indiana, Illinois, Iowa that have requested to show our film, which is really exciting. So, we're just able to highlight and showcase at a high level, what our particular watershed and soil and water conservation districts have done to improve water quality. And, the film is just a great way to, tell that story and demonstrate that you can do the same thing in your own watershed or wherever you live. And, this is just it's been a great tool to open a lot of doors and make a lot of connections.
I love to see it's getting so much utilization like that. Very cool. All right.
We're
So
pretty
then
excited.
moving into our last question, what's next for this film, and then what's next for you and Ben?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the film, we've got several different groups that are still planning to show the film for an educational purposes, at these soil and water conservation district meetings across the state and in other states. The Nature Conservancy has, debuted our film internationally to a lot of different groups that have an interest in conservation. So that's very exciting. I can't necessarily speak for Ben per se, but on his next big solo venture, but at least he and I collaboratively are working on another short documentary film that's about a nature preserve in Warren County that has a lot of historical significance. It got shut down and will soon to be reopened through a serious collaboration between a lot of community members and stakeholders, which is really exciting. So, we're always filming, we're always capturing the moment, and I'm sure we'll have some more films to show some people soon. So,
I love that. Well, I will make sure to be first in line for the Warren County movie. That sounds really, really good.
thank you.
All right. Well, then, on behalf of myself, Johnny, and the entire team at Indiana Humanities, I want to thank everybody for tuning in for this interview. If you're interested in watching and learning more, stay right here and check out the remaining films and interviews on the Indiana Humanities YouTube channel. Lastly, I wouldn't want to leave this moment without thanking, the Joe and Carol Trimmer Indiana Film Fund and the Nina Mason Pulliam Charitable Trust for their generous support on this project. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in.